Hi, it's Steph, and today I have a double header for you. 2 beautiful shrubs to add multiple season interest to your garden. The first shrub I'm going to plant is this cutie here. This is a St.Johns wort, and I found this shrub during one of my garden center tours over at Lowe's this summer. When I found it, it had a ton of beautiful pink berries, and it was gorgeous. I just couldn't resist, so I knew I had to have it. This is a Monrovia shrub, and the variety is a floral berry rosé St.Johns wort. It is a Monrovia exclusive. It has just ornamental berries. And this provides multiple season interest because in the spring it will leaf out with beautiful green new foliage, and then in summer it gets all of these really pretty dainty yellow blooms. Really pretty. And then after it blooms, it will set its berries in fall. So in fall you get beautiful pink berries. What's not to love? So I immediately fell in love, had to bring it home. It's also very compact. It stays only 3 by 3 in size. So I have the perfect spot picked out, and I am really happy to add this to my garden because this year my goal has been to add late season interest. I have added some later summer, early fall blooming perennials, and I've also been looking specifically for shrubs that provide multiple season interest. So this, I think, will be a good one. And the second shrub that I'm going to add today is this beauty. This is an evergreen shrub, and I picked it up recently at one of the local to me nurseries called Briggs. It's in Attleboro, Massachusetts. It's a beautiful nursery, but I went there looking for a Japanese maple actually, but I ended up leaving with this really pretty shrub. It's called Rainbow Leucothoe, and it has this really gorgeous yellow foliage that I think will be a really pretty bright spot in this otherwise pretty shady bed. I have this tree ring here, and we have some scrub pines and some oaks planted, and it's really difficult to get anything to grow in this particular area because there's a lot of root competition. From what I've read, I think that this Leucothoe will be a really good candidate for this bed, and so that's where I'm planning on putting it. But first I have to move some of this ground cover out. This is a geranium macrorrhizum, which is a wonderful ground cover, by the way. It's not aggressive, it spreads beautifully, has large foliage. The critters in my garden, the deer, keep away from it, and it gets these really pretty pink blooms in late spring. So I'm going to move some of that away. I'm going to go ahead and plant this Leucothoe, and we're going to see what it looks like. All right, so this is where I'm going to plant this Rainbow Leucothoe. And when I went into the bed to kind of see where I would start taking out some of this geranium macrorrhizum, I noticed that there is actually a couple of boulders in here. I must have placed these at some point, but I'm going to try to roll them out of the way, and I think that will open up a nice spot for me to plant this shrub. And earlier this spring, I had some bleeding hearts in this bed that were blooming right where this shepherd's hook is. And because when they die back, you don't know where the perennial is, I placed this here as a reminder. And I'm glad that I did, because now I know not to dig in that spot, and that's where my bleeding heart is. And there it is, all planted up. I think it's going to be a really nice spot for this Leucothoe with this really pretty light foliage that's like a creamy yellow with green and the pink tips, and then the spring blooms. I'm really looking forward to those. It wasn't too difficult to move this geranium. In fact, when I removed that boulder, it instantly made a spot, so I didn't have to take a whole lot out. I rolled that right over here, and I'll have to ask George to move it at some point later this afternoon. But I think that this will be a great addition to this bed. And deer resistant, which is perfect because we're backed up to the woods. The deer frequently like to come through and visit. So we'll see how it holds up. Over the last 10 years, we've been working on this garden piece by piece, and this was a bed that we made a few years back. We live in New England and there's really rocky soil in our garden. So we made this tree ring with the stones that we found on our property, and I have this really pretty rhododendron. It is a pink rhododendron that blooms in spring, and a lilac. This is a Korean lilac, and it really gets pretty fall color as well. It looks like a golden shrub at the moment. But these two shrubs, the pink rhododendron with the purple lilac, look really stunning in the spring. And now as we move over, I'm starting to add other shrubs in this bed and ground covers, which will just make it really low maintenance as the years go on, which is what I'm looking for. So the Leucothoe here, the geranium mycorrhizum, and this geranium has a really nice fragrance. When you get near it, it almost smells a little bit like citronella to me. And I have some bleeding hearts as well as some columbine. So the goal back here is deer resistant, low maintenance, can take a little bit of drought because of the roots from these trees taking most of the moisture. So it's a work in progress. Next spring I hope to add a red nandina behind the lighthouse there on the other side, and slowly but surely. And here's where I'm planting the St.Johns wort shrub. In my patio bed, I had some zinnias planted all summer, and it is fall now. They started to get powdery mildew and they were just done. So I went ahead and removed those, and it opened up a spot for me to place this shrub. And here it is, all planted up. I think it's going to look really nice under this garnet Japanese maple. And you can see that I gave it a little bit more space away from the My Monet Purple Effect Weigela. Shrubs tend to be a little bit more difficult to move, so I wanted to give them ample space so that I would not have to move these down the road. So there's a little more distance between the My Monet Purple Effect and the St.Johns wort, but it is a little bit closer to the Butterfly Blue Scabiosa, which is a perennial, and perennials are really easy to move, so that would not be a big deal. If you've never grown the Butterfly Blue Scabiosa before, it is a really great perennial. It blooms non-stop from spring all the way through fall. The pollinators love it, and it has a really pretty color. It's just a really good perennial. It is a short-lived perennial, which means it may only live about 3 years in your garden, but if you divide it and transplant it, you can keep it going. Now this St.Johns wort actually has a bloom on it, and so this is what they look like. Look at that, really pretty yellow bloom. And then the berries, once the bloom falls off, it forms these pink berries. Just really pretty. You can see here where you see all of these dark berries, they were once yellow blooms and then pink berries. Now this bed does stay a little bit moist, and it is something that for a couple of years now we've been trying to get to improve the drainage, but it's going to be a little bit of work. It's going to involve digging some trenches, and it's just not something we've been able to get to yet. So for that reason, I did go ahead and plant this shrub high. You know what they say, plant it high, it won't die. Plant it low, it won't grow. So I did plant it high, so hopefully that will work out fine. And also the lighting conditions should be really good in this spot because this shrub likes part sun. This bed does get shady at the later part of the afternoon when the sun is its hottest. So I think that will be fine. Well, that was another really productive day in the garden. I was able to get 2 new shrubs planted that will offer multiple season interest. This Leucothoe will give me evergreen interest with its really pretty new growth showing up in colors of pink, as well as some spring blooms. And the St.Johns wort will give me pretty yellow blooms in the summer, followed by fall pink berries. So if you grow either of these varieties in your garden, let me know what your experience is. Comment below. I'm always curious to know. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.